You're watching The Fix with me, Karima Brown. I'm in conversation with the National Police Commissioner, Khehla Sitole. I'm just going to check with my technical team if he is in fact up. We were struggling with his picture. Yes, he is back. Police Commissioner Sitole, thanks for your time. Before the break, I asked you, when did you institute your new procurement system? Can you give me the date, sir?
Okay. I instituted the new systems in the beginning of the past financial year.
The month, sir, can you say, is that April or March? April. So April 2020.
Yes.
Is that correct? So when did your procurement people enter into contracts with, among others, LTE for PPE contracts?
That is in March.
In March. So would you say...
Started in March.
It started in March. So given the fact that you put your new system in, how did these people get through it?
Yeah, remember, at the moment, we're speaking about one company, né?
Now, we're talking about several. This is LTE, but there were two others that we mentioned, and they were all used to procure PPE. Now, the point is, when did you procure this PPE, and when did your system kick in? Why did your system not catch this?
No, look, Karima, I don't want us to draw a conclusion that my system could not catch. Remember, you are still making allegations. Because even the information you gave me last, you said such companies are investigated by DPCI, and DPCI is still busy with inquiry, not on criminal investigation. Even here, we have given all this information to both DPCI and other parties of the Fusion Center. And we are awaiting a report which suggests that the procurement process in SAPS was not followed correctly, so that then we take...
Okay, Police Commissioner, I'm going to grant you that in the sense that those are ongoing investigations, but I'm going to take you back to an earlier case before your time and shortly after. I have an article here from the Daily Maverick where it says that in the case of General Khemotso Pahlane, who used to be your successor, who has now been fired, and the last time you were on the show, you said the matter can be put to rest. I would beg to differ. It says here that in the Pahlane case alone, involving a blue lights tender, the amount lost to the state totals 84 million, while he allegedly bought himself several large-screen televisions and built up a fleet of vehicles. But I want to come to another key issue. It says that in December of 2017, the police raided the homes of forensic data analyst, Director Keith Keating and Pahlane, both implicated in allegations of fraud, theft, corruption and racketeering. And it says here that the raid took place a week after there were revelations to the Parliamentary Standing Committee of wide-scale corruption. And during that raid, the investigators also found unused SAPS radio frequencies and so on, and tags worth more than 374 million was hidden at a construction site. In 2018, Mr. Keating switched off a critical SAPS IT system because payments to his company has been suspended. Now, how do you do business with Mr. Keating, who's facing charges of corruption? It's a pattern again. It's the same as LTE. I asked you about how do you do business with someone who's at the center of an SIU investigation. Here, Mr. Keating is providing you with an IT system. In fact, he switched you off. You weren't even able to grant things like firearms licenses. So clearly there's a fundamental weakness in your system, Commissioner.
No, thank you, Karima. I'm glad because you indicated to me that the business with Mr. Keating started before I took office. And at the time I took office, I assembled an integrated team between SAPS, IP and Treasure. And that's where and when we suspended certain processes relating to the company of Mr. Keating. But secondly, there were several investigations which were initiated, both criminal as well as departmental. And we started working on the disposal process of those contracts which were entered into with Mr. Kitchen's company, which were not correct. And this one that we are talking about is the last one that we have disposed. And as you speak to me now, it has been disposed.
So what does that mean factually? Is Mr. Keating still a service provider for the SAPS? And if he is, when exactly are you going to act against him? If he's not, what does that mean? Is someone else managing the IT system of the police? And what is happening to Mr. Keating? Is he being criminally prosecuted?
Remember, Mr. Keating is under investigation by both IPT as well as certain SAPS investigations and DPCI. So the moment there's an investigation affecting a company, we start suspending the processes of acquiring services until that company has cleared itself. And by the time such allegations surface, we check on the status of the contract. It might happen that it's a 3-year contract. We still have to go for another 2 years. We'll suspend. The company will obviously take us to court. We will fight the court processes, but at the end, we'll dispose of that particular contract. So there's several of these contracts that we have terminated. And then this one is still in progress, but we're no longer acquiring the services. Yes, switched it off. We are in a process of disposing it finally, but the investigations are continuing.
Mr. Sitole, Commissioner, do you still pay Mr. Keating for that contract?
Not anymore, not now.
And can you tell the public how much that contract was worth?
Well, the final amount of the contract, it was pertaining to an IP code for which Mr. Keating asked from us an amount of 560 million.
560 million, that's one case. The LTE case is, 70 million. Commissioner Sitole, if I'm a South African watching this program and I'm having those who are supposed to arrest people who do wrong, and the Commissioner here is explaining one allegation after the next involving hundreds of millions of rands in corruption that the police themselves are involved in, what confidence should South Africans have in the police service, given the fact that you seem to be having criminals within your ranks to such an extent that one can almost say it's in your DNA?
All right. No, thanks, Karima. Remember, the moment you find yourself in a situation and you go through a certain experience, part and parcel of building public confidence depends on the action you take. And when I came in, I said, I am going to clean up the police service. And I started that campaign, and I'm still continuing with it. We are speaking about Mr. Kitchen is one individual. There's several people, I think it's more than 100 people arrested since we started this people. Just recently, we arrested suppliers together with members, totaling 35. And we saved 56 million, and there were other large sums of money that we've also retrieved back for the state. So this is an action that is continuing to clean up. While the public will develop such perceptions, which I do not dispute, but the action that is happening also need to create a different kind of confidence.
All right, we've run out of time. Of course, Commissioner, there's so much that we can talk about. Thank you very much for making yourself available. The National Police Commissioner, Khehla Sitole. You've had your fix for the week. See you again next Sunday at 12 noon. Thank you so much for watching.